Water, the elixir of life, threatened by radiation. A contribution by the World Foundation for Natural Science as part of their series, How Artificial Electromagnetic Radiation Harms Life, Part 4. Water is the elixir of life. Water gives life. Water is life. What do these statements mean? And what do water and mobile communications have to do with each other? Without water, there would be no life on this planet. Water is much more than a thirst quencher or a detergent. It provides energy for life processes. In our body, water actually works like a battery. To understand this fact, we need to include research on the water element and reflect on the vitality of waters. Vital living waters are in movement. They must be able to flow naturally and swirl around their own axis like a spiral. If you force waters into an unnatural straight course, the waters lose their natural balance. They can then even act destructively. The Austrian naturalist and forester Victor Schauberger recognized this already in the first half of the 20th century. The meander of a free-flowing river, the swinging back and forth of the river, show us the principle of polarity. This shapes our world. It is polarity, thus the presence of two opposite poles, that gives life, power, and generates vitality. Yin-yang, male-female, movement-rest, cold-heat. The two poles complement each other and together create a dynamic balance. Not surprisingly, the greatest diversity in nature occurs where opposites meet. One such example are poor dry grasslands next to a wet, shady zone at the edge of a water body. Water contains this life-giving polarity in two respects. Both in the water molecule H2O itself, as well as in the body of water, for example, in a glass of water, in natural waters, and also in the body water. Charge separations are present. This means that there are areas with excess electrons and a negative charge, and that there are areas with an electron deficiency and a positive charge. Most of us still remember from school that water is a polar compound, a dipole. As a dipole, the water molecule has two differently charged electric poles, a negative charge on the side of the oxygen atom, here in red, and a positive charge on the side of the two hydrogen atoms, here in blue. The water molecule can therefore be compared to a bar magnet. What happens now when this bar magnet is exposed to electromagnetic waves? Electromagnetic waves make the bar magnet rotate, that is, the water dipole. This applies in particular to microwave radiation, which is the frequency range used for mobile communication. This happens because the minus pole, respectively the plus pole, are constantly reorienting themselves according to the electromagnetic wave. Incidentally, this principle is used with the microwave oven. Through rotation, the water molecules begin to vibrate. They rub against each other, which generates heat. In this way, food can be heated in the microwave oven. This is then referred to as the thermal effect of microwave radiation. But the convenience of the microwave oven comes at a price. As early as 1992, Dr. Hans-Uli Hertel showed that the blood values of test persons changed significantly when they ate food prepared in the microwave oven. For example, the hematocrit level was greatly increased after eating microwave-irradiated food, but decreased after eating raw food or food cooked conventionally. The hematocrit level describes the proportion of blood cells in the total of blood, and thus the fluidity of the blood. If the liquid content of the blood decreases, the hematocrit increases. A high hematocrit level therefore means that the blood is more viscous and flows more slowly, increasing the risk of thrombosis or stroke, for example. Dr. Hertel's research shows microwave radiation changes more than just the temperature of a medium. Many studies also show biological effects that occur independently of tissue heating. Our own research also shows that water is not only heated in the microwave oven, but it also changes its order. This can be made visible by means of dark field microscopy. After drying a drop of water, the dark field filter in the microscope makes visible the structures of the deposited sediments, the salts dissolved in the water, and other substances. Thus, each water has its very own pattern. In a test, the reference water, a Swiss mineral water from the supermarket, was brought to the boil, dripped on after cooling, and dried. The structure of the water brought to the boil on the gas stove is similar to that of the original water. The blue centre, a star-shaped pattern around the centre, as well as semi-concentric circles. However, if the water is boiled in the microwave oven, the original sediment pattern is no longer recognizable. It is completely destroyed. How does this loss of order come about? Scientists have found that when water molecules merge into so-called water clusters, that is, groups of H2O molecules, they can arrange in different ways. The water shows different structures. The water structure depends on factors such as temperature, surface condition of adjacent materials, or vortex. Changes at the cluster level affect the flow properties of water. Victor Schauberger had described this with the towing properties of mountain streams when transporting tree trunks. In the drops under our microscope, the same thing happens. Depending on the water structure, the flow property of the drop changes during the drying process. Thus, for each water forms a specific deposition pattern. The patterns give clues to the energy inherent in the water. Today, at least two different types of water structures are known. One structure is water in the conventional sense. It shows a more or less random network of water molecules, which are loosely connected into chains of hydrogen bridges. This water is also called bulk water. In contrast to bulk water, there is highly structured water. Here the water molecules arrange themselves into hexagons. This structure closely resembles the structure of ice. Professor Gerald Pollack of the University of Washington in Seattle currently is the leading scientist when it comes to studying hexagonal water. For this highly structured liquid crystalline water, he coined the term easy water. EZ stands for exclusion zone, because other substances are excluded in this zone of the water. It consists only of hydrogen and oxygen. The easy zone has an alkaline pH value and a negative electrical charge. Due to the ice crystal-like arrangement of the molecules, the water is more viscous than other water. It is a gel. Biologist James Clegg studied cell water in the 1990s. He discovered that in addition to bog water, the gel-like water is also present in a cell. He also found that the formation of this ordered gel-like water strongly depends on the interfaces present in the cell at cell structures, such as the cell skeleton, polymers, or enzymes. For the human body, but also for plants and many other natural systems, the juxtaposition of differently structured waters is vital. The reason is this: while easy water is negatively charged, bog water has a positive charge. The charge differences generate a voltage and thus valuable energy which is used for life processes. The presence of various waters drives life, as the Dr. Ivan Engler states. When the structuring of water is so important for life, yet we know from research that microwave radiation is harmful to life, an important question arises. Do mobile communications have an influence on the water structure? Based on the findings of the vitality of water provided by research with dark-field microscopy, it makes sense to approach this question with the same method. Does the deposition pattern change when water samples are exposed to radiation from Wi-Fi routers and smartphones? The picture on the left shows a drop of the original water as a reference. There is a high proportion of blue which indicates the presence of EZ water, easy water. In addition, there is a great order with a small centre, concentric circles and meander-like flow structures towards the edge. After the water has been exposed to a Wi-Fi router and a smartphone for 30 minutes, a completely different picture emerges. Black areas are areas without sediment. Evidently, the water has lost its tractive force. The sediments are mostly deposited at the edge of the drop. Further samples show a similar picture. The missing tractive force is very noticeable in the next sample. On the left, the reference water with a high blue content and ordered concentric, albeit somewhat rigid circles. After Wi-Fi irradiation, the large sediment-free centre stands out as well as the absence of the original pattern. Remember the picture shown earlier of the water boiled in the microwave oven? The water pattern was completely destroyed, just like here. This is no coincidence. The same frequency is used for Wi-Fi as for the microwave oven, 2.45 GHz. For water, 2.45 GHz is an important frequency because water absorbs maximum energy from this spectral range. 2.5 GHz therefore is a typical water frequency, as are other frequencies in the microwave spectrum used in mobile communications. Water can react differently to Wi-Fi radiation. The extent of the influence of the radiation on the flow property also depends on the characteristics of the original water. However, the disturbed tractive force tends to exist as can be shown in these three water samples. After 1 hour of Wi-Fi irradiation with a Wi-Fi router or smartphone, the order of every sample has changed. What exactly does Wi-Fi irradiation do with the water structures and the voltage they generate? In fact, preliminary results from water structure research suggest that water exposed to Wi-Fi radiation reduces the exclusion zone by about 15%. This finding raises further questions. Does the reduction of the easy water through Wi-Fi also occur with mobile communications in other frequencies and pulsations? Does water no longer provide energy when the zone with structured water is reduced? What does the resulting lack of energy mean for cell processes, for organs, for us humans, animals and plants? There is clear evidence that the change in water structures triggered by mobile communications disrupts and endangers life processes. Experiments show that easy water is involved in the capillary effect, for example. It is well documented that trees exposed to microwave radiation are under stress. The leaf tips turn brown and finally the leaf falls. Is it possible that this is a water structure problem? This is another open research question that absolutely needs to be investigated. But it's not only plants that are under stress from microwave radiation. About 70% of our body is water, and 99% of all molecules in the human body are water molecules. Does Wi-Fi radiation also change our body water? Blood is a body fluid that reacts quickly to radiation. In the dark field microscope, enlarged 1,000-fold, the red blood cells become clearly visible. This picture shows beautifully round, freely distributed red blood cells. This is the normal, healthy state of the blood. But with Wi-Fi radiation, so-called money rolls form in the blood. In this state, the oxygen stored in the dent of the red blood cell can only be released insufficiently to the tissue. Also, the flow speed of the blood is often worse. Biochemist Professor Dr. Volker Ullrich confirms the money roll formation of the red blood cells. He cites as the cause the change of the voltage-dependent ion channel. Ion channels are tube-shaped proteins that act like a door on the cell membrane and are permeable only to individual ion types. If the ion channels are voltage controlled, they open at the membrane depending on the charge ratio. An example for this are the voltage-controlled calcium channels. The calcium content in the cells increases when exposed to the radiation of mobile communications. An increased concentration of calcium ions in the cells leads to increased cell death, oxidative stress, cardiac arrhythmias, neurological and neuropsychiatric disorders, as well as hormonal disorders. Experiments show that differently structured waters at the cell membrane co-control the function of the ion channels. This means that the ratio of highly structured water to bulk water co-determines the voltage at the cell membrane. It is probable that the different water structures in the cells thus at least co-control the ion flow. The current results indicate that mobile communications indeed do interfere with the organization of water, also with the water in our bodies. It is obvious that this has an impact on our health. Babies and young children are particularly at risk. Children's bodies have an even higher water content than the bodies of adults. Children therefore absorb the artificial microwaves more strongly. Health disorders and deformities occur more quickly. Water is an element that still holds many mysteries. Recognizing its essence and tasks are a prerequisite for the better understanding of life processes. In combination with the omnipresent natural electromagnetic fields, the blueprints for life, water is a basis for all life. For by restructuring its molecules, water is able to react to electromagnetic influences and represent electromagnetic fields. Hormones, vitamins, nutrients, light, sound, and, as the American doctor Thomas Cowan explains, even subtle energies such as feelings or thoughts can dock to the countless binding points of the crystal-like easy water. This water has the ability to interact with these influences and change its shape depending on the input. One could therefore also claim that structured crystalline water forms a bridge between mind and matter. If we put artificial electromagnetic fields into the world uncontrolled, as is currently happening with the further expansion of mobile communication networks, we interfere with the subtle organization and communication in organisms. We play the sorcerer's apprentice. It is time to take seriously the many warnings given to us by nature, many scientists, and our own bodies. Let us protect the water, and with it all life. The sources and further information about this video can be found in the article of the same name. The link to this can be seen below. Visit us again and recommend the Well Foundation for Natural Science.